Hi everybody, welcome to Live Blogger. In this video we will see how to create this random post section over here using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So this is how it works. We can see that we have this post card over here, and if I click on this next post button, we have another post displayed over here, and if I click on this next post button once again, we have a different post displayed over here every time we click on the next button. So we are basically selecting from a list of posts and we are just displaying them randomly on the screen. So we will build all of this from scratch using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So let's get started. Right here I have created this folder called random post and I just opened it with VS Code. Now let's go ahead and create the necessary files. So let's create a new file and let's name it index.html. And let's create one more file. Let's name it style.css. And we also need to have a JavaScript file. I'll just name it main.js. Let's start with the index.html file, and in VS Code you can just press exclamation and press tab and you will have this basic HTML5 code. And here in the head section let's link our CSS file, and in the body let's link the JavaScript file. Right now let's start with the markup of our design. So the first thing we will do is we'll create a container division. So for the container division, let's give it a class of random post container. Now for this card, we'll create a division with a class of random post. And in this random post, the first thing we need to have is the image. So let's create an img tag. And in the source, we need to add the thumbnail of the post. So we'll just go ahead and get the link of an image. So let's go to pexels.com. Right here, I'm in pexels.com and let's search for something. I'll just type technology. And let's get an image from here. I just select the orientation and let's select horizontal, and let's select one of these images. I'll just select this one right here. So I'll just right click and click on copy image address and I'll just paste it over here. Right now the next thing we need to have is this text content over here. So we will add all of this inside a division. So let's go outside this img tag and let's create a division with a class of content. Now in this, the first thing we need to have is the date. So I'll just create a division with a class of date and let's add a date over here. So just have 4 June 2023, and then we need to have the heading. So I'll just copy this and let's create an h2 and I'll just paste the heading over here, and then we need to have the summary. So I'll just create a paragraph tag for that, and let's just copy this text from here and I'll just paste it over here. And then lastly we need to have this read more button. So for that I'll just create an anchor tag and let's give it a class of read more btn, and here I'll just type read more. And then lastly we need to have this button right here called next post. So let's go outside this random post division and here let's create a button and let's give it a class of next post btn. And here let's type next post. Right now let's open this in our browser and let's see how it looks. So I have this extension called Live Server installed in VS Code. So once you install this, you can just go ahead and right click over here in the HTML and click on Open with Live Server. And here we have our design displayed. So now let's go ahead and style this. So let's go to the style.css file and let's start styling this. The first thing we will do is we'll just reduce the width and height of this image. So it is inside this random post container division. So let's type random post container img and let's set the width to 300 and also the height to 300. And let's set the object fit to cover so that it has the correct proportions. So I'll just type object fit cover. Right now let's go ahead and add a max width for this element. So here we can see that we have a max width over here and it is also aligned to the center. So let's target the container division, which is random post container. So I'll just type random post container and let's type max width and I'll just set it to 720 pixels, and let's also bring it to the center. So I'll just type margin 24 pixels top and bottom and auto for left and right, and now we can see that it is in the center. Right now the next thing we need to do is we need to have this image on the left side and all the text content on the right side. So it is inside this division with a class of random post. So for that we need to set the display of this random post to flex. So I'll just type random post And let's set the display to flex, and we'll add a gap of 24 pixels between the elements, and we'll also set align items to the center so that they are in the center vertically. And let's also set the font family to Roboto and sans serif. And let's also change the color of the text, so I'll just type color, and let's set the color to 003049. And now let's go ahead and add a box shadow. So here I'll just type box shadow, and let's set the values to 0, 4 pixels, 40 pixels, negative 8 pixels, RGBA, 0, 0, 0 and 0.2. Right now let's go ahead and add some padding to this content. So in the random post we have this division with the class of content. So I'll just type random post content, and I will set a padding of 24 pixels. And now we can see that the padding is added, but we have a lot of padding on the left side. So that's because we also have added this gap of 24 pixels. So I'll just go ahead and remove this. And now it looks alright. Right now let's style this date. So for the date we have this division with the class of date. So let's go ahead and type random post date. And for the date, let's set the font size to 15 pixels. And we'll set the font weight to bold. And let's also add a margin of 16 pixels top and bottom and 0 for left and right. And let's also make it uppercase. So I'll just type text transform uppercase. And we'll set the letter spacing. So I'll just type letter spacing. And let's set it to 2 pixels so that we have some gap between these letters. And we'll also have a border on the left side. So for that, let's go ahead and type border left. And let's set the value to 3 pixels solid. And for the color, let's type EF233C. And now we have this border, and let's also add some padding on the left side. So I'll just type padding left, and I'll just set it to 8 pixels. And this is how it looks. Right now let's go ahead and style this heading. So for the heading we have an H2. So let's type random post H2, and let's set the font size to 22 pixels, and let's set the margin to 0. Right now for this paragraph, let's go ahead and add some line height. So let's type random post, and we have a p tag, and let's set a line height of 1.8, and I think that looks alright. Now let's style this read more button. So let's go back and let's type random post read more btn. Let's set the background color of this button to 003049, and let's set the color of the text to white. And let's also remove the underline. So I'll just tap text decoration to none. And let's also add some padding. So I'll just tap padding, and let's set it to 8 pixels top and bottom and 32 pixels left and right. And let's also set the display to inline block so that the padding top is added correctly. So here let's tap display of inline block, and let's also set the font size, and let's set it to 14 pixels, and we also need to make it uppercase. So let's tap text transform uppercase, and I think that's it with the read more button. Now let's style this next post button. So let's go back, and here we have this button with a class of next post btn. So I'll just tap random post container next post btn, and let's add a padding of 4 pixels top and bottom and 16 pixels left and right. And let's set the background color to EF233C, and let's set the color of the text to white. And let's also remove the border. So I'll just type border none. And let's also set the cursor to pointer, and we'll also add a margin of 16 pixels top and bottom and 0 for left and right. And this is the next post button. So with that we have completed styling this, and now let's go ahead and make it responsive. So let's reduce the width of the browser window, and when we are on a smaller screen, we'll just display the thumbnail at the top and all the content at the bottom. So let's add a media query. So I'll just tap add media, and let's set the max width to 700 pixels. So whenever the screen width is less than 700 pixels, all the CSS inside this block will be added to our design. So let's go ahead and type random post. And here we can see that for the random post, we have set the display to flex. So here we need to set the flex direction to column. Right now, let's go ahead and add a max width. So I'll just type random post container, and let's set the max width to 500 pixels. Right now, let's go ahead and style the image. So let's type random post container img, and we will set the width of the image to 100%, and we'll set the height of the image to 200 pixels. And this is how it looks. And with that, we have completed creating this design. Now let's go ahead and add the functionality. So when we click on this next button, we need to display a random post over here. So for that, the first thing we need to do is we need to store all the posts inside a JavaScript array, or else you need to get the posts from an external API. So let's go ahead and let's go to the main.js file, and here I'll just create an array of objects. So let's tap const, and I'll just name it posts data. And let's create an array, and in the array we will have objects for the posts. Now in these objects we need to have the title. So for the title we can add this title right here. Now in the same way you need to add the thumbnail URL, and then you need to add the summary and the link of the post and also the date. So just go ahead and fill in all these details according to your needs. And I'll just quickly go ahead and copy and paste my data over here. Alright, so here I have copied and pasted all the data, and we have 3 posts over here. Right now let's go ahead and write the functionality. So the first thing we need to do is we need to add this HTML using JavaScript. So I'll just go ahead and comment this out. And let's go ahead and copy this HTML from here. And we need to create a function to add the HTML to this division called a random post. So here I'll just type display random post, and let's create the function over here. So I'll just type const display random post. Now here let's go ahead and create a const called HTML, and in this we will add the HTML. So here I'll just type backticks, and let's paste the HTML over here. And then we need to add this HTML to the random post division. So let's reference this. So here I'll just type const random post equals document.querySelector, and let's type random post. And now if we go back to our design, here we can see that the post is not being displayed. But if you go over here and if I just add the HTML, so I'll just type random post dot inner HTML equals, and let's set it to this HTML. So I'll just type HTML over here, and now we can see that the post is being displayed over here. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to display the posts from this array right here. So for that we'll just create a variable, and let's call it post index, and by default we will set it to 0. And whenever we click on this next post button, we'll just randomly select one of these posts, and we'll just store the index over here. So here in this HTML, let's go ahead and remove this source from here, and let's type $symbol curly braces. And here we need to get the data from posts data. So I'll just type posts data, and for the index we need to use the index post index. So I'll just type post index, and then we need to type dot, and here we have this key called thumbnail. So I'll just type thumbnail over here. So this is going to fetch the first thumbnail and add it to our source over here, because right now the post index is set to 0, which is the first element of the array. And then for the date, let's go ahead and delete this, and let's type $symbol curly braces post data post index date updated. And in the same way, let's go ahead and delete this h2, and let's type $symbol curly braces posts data post index title. And then for the summary, let's type $symbol curly braces posts data post index summary. And then lastly we have the link. So here instead of this hash, let's type $symbol curly braces posts data post index link. And now let's go back to our design, and here we can see that the first post is being displayed, because if we scroll up, here we can see that the title is set to the future of artificial intelligence. Let's go ahead and change this post index to 1. Now this should display the second post, which is exploring quantum computing technologies. So now we can see that we have the second post displayed over here. Right now the last thing we need to do is whenever we click on this next post button, we need to just select a random number between 0, 1 and 2. So first of all, let's reference the next button. So here we have this button with a class of next post btn. So here I'll just type const next post btn equals document.querySelector. I'll just type random post container next post btn, and let's scroll down and let's add an event listener. So I'll just type next post btn dot add event listener, and let's listen for the click event. Let's create an arrow function over here. Now here we need to create a random number, so I'll just create a variable called new index, and we need to set it equal to a function in JavaScript called math.random. So I'll just type math.random. Now this will give us a random number, so let's go ahead and console.log it and let's see what is the number. So I'll just type new index, and let's go back to our design and let's open the console. And let's click on this next post button, and now we can see we have a random number. Let's click on the button once again and we have another random number. So every time we click on this next post button, we have a random number displayed over here. But all these random numbers are between 0 and 1. So for that you need to go back and you need to add a max limit over here. So I'll just type times, and now for example if we just type 10, and now if we click on this next post button, now we can see that we have a random number between 0 and 10. And we need to have a random number between the number of posts inside this post data array. So for that we can just type posts data dot length. And now the next thing we need to do is we need to get an integer. We don't need to have these decimal points over here. So let's go back, and here we can use a function called math.floor. So this will just give us an integer. So just add everything inside this parenthesis. Now let's click on this next button, and we have 1 displayed. Let's click on it once again, and now we have 2, and we have 2 once again, and we have 1, 0, 1, and now we can see that the numbers 0, 1 and 2 are randomly generated over here. Now here we can see sometimes the same number is repeated. So let's go ahead and fix that. Let's go back, and here the first thing we will do is we'll just create the new index variable over here, and by default we will set it to post index, which is the current post index. And then let's add this line of code inside a while loop. So I just type while, and let's type new index equals post index. So if we have the same index being generated once again, then we'll just perform this new index random number generator once again. Now when we have a different number than the post index, then we will go ahead and perform the rest of the code. And now you need to set the post index to the new index. So I'll just type post index equals new index. And now let's go ahead and see whether we are getting the random numbers and whether we are getting the same number twice. So let's go back. Let's click on this next post button, and we can see we have 0, and we have 1, 0, 2, 1, and we can see that every time we click on the next post button, we have a different random number. Now the last thing we need to do is we need to display the post related to this post index. So let's go back. I'll just remove this console.log, and we'll just call this display random post function. So just type display random post. Right now let's go back and let's see whether everything works alright. So let's click on the next post button, and we have another post displayed over here. And every time we click on the next post button, we have a random post displayed. So that's basically how you can create this random post section using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Alright, so that's basically it for this video. I will leave the link of the source code in the description of this video, and if you have any doubts you can ask in the comments below. And if you like this video, please click on the like button and subscribe to this channel to get the latest video updates. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a nice day.